The world does not end quietly. It begins with speed, fire, and a bridge already too broken to save anyone. A vehicle tears across the ruins above the water. And then, the night blooms with an explosion. From the smoke, glowing-eyed creatures crawl forward like hunger-given bodies. Most people would freeze, most people would pray, but the man in the suit only tightens his grip around a knife. He moves through the horde as if every attack has already happened once before. One step, one slash, one body dropping before the next can reach him. And when frightened survivors demand to know what kind of monster he is, the system answers for them. Yu Jung-hyuk. Returner. Divine grade. Pro gamer. A man layered with skills so advanced, the identification system struggles to summarize him. This is not a beginner trapped in an apocalypse. This is someone the apocalypse may have to survive. Jung-hyuk's strength is frightening, but his real weapon is memory. He remembers how certain people should die. He remembers how a subway carriage should turn into a battle royale. He remembers names, outcomes, and the brutal logic of the scenarios. But this world has already begun to slip away from his memory. A young man confronts him with knowledge no ordinary survivor should possess, talking about fiction, fans, and the strange feeling of meeting someone who once existed only as a story. Jung-hyuk does not soften. He interrogates, threatens, and searches for the missing piece. Then the clue appears, an insect case dropped during an explosion. A small accident, almost meaningless in the moment, but enough to twist the entire future. Survivors who were supposed to die still breathe. People who should have become monsters of the scenario are missing from their expected places. Jung-hyuk realizes something terrifying. If the present has changed, his future knowledge is no longer a map. When Jung-hyuk activates Sage's Eye, it should be over. Hidden information, concealed attributes, and dangerous truths should unfold before him. This is an SS-tier inspection skill, the kind of power that turns enemies into readable pages. But the moment it opens, another force answers. Fourth wall. The name appears like a locked door inside his mind. Electric pain surges through him. The skill that should expose everything is blocked before it can speak. Jung-hyuk's anger is immediate, but beneath it is something rarer. Uncertainty. The world is not only changing its events, it is producing people, powers, and counters that can interfere with his strongest tools. Then, a new category enters the game. Prophets. Survivors who can see futures that even a regressor cannot fully know. They can fill the gaps in Jung-hyuk's knowledge, or turn those gaps into traps. The system's cruelty becomes mathematical. A bridge appears under a rule called Deus Ex Machina, allowing only an even number of people to cross. Too few, too many, and the bridge itself becomes a death sentence. With zombies closing in and time collapsing, Jung-hyuk does what he has always done. He forces a solution. He grabs a reluctant companion and drags him into survival, not with kindness, but with necessity. Yet the mental strain catches up. Omniscient Reader's point of view shuts down from exhaustion, stripping away one of his greatest advantages. And in that weakened window, the danger becomes physical. A gigantic creature rises with red eyes and teeth like a living gate. Jung-hyuk is thrown, battered, and forced toward the monster's mouth. The system declares failure with cold indifference. But Jung-hyuk is not dead. Inside the monster, the battlefield changes from stone and steel to flesh, acid, and darkness. Jung-hyuk floats through a grotesque internal sea, where corpses and debris drift like proof that others failed before him. The ichthyosaur is not just an enemy, it is a living dungeon. The hidden scenario demands the impossible. Kill the creature and escape from its stomach. The reward is massive. The penalty is death. Jung-hyuk studies the timing of digestive acid, the properties of monster mucus, and the usefulness of strange items most survivors would ignore. He coats himself in protection, uses thorns as tools, absorbs vital force, and turns the beast's biology against itself. 4 days pass in black adhesive confinement, but he survives. When the system rewards him for hunting a grade 7 species, it confirms what the constellations are beginning to understand. Jung-hyuk does not merely fight scenarios, he dissects them. After escaping death, Jung-hyuk meets something that looks too cute to be dangerous, and too dangerous to be dismissed. A small horned creature appears, calling itself Dokebi Bihyung. It talks about coins, channels, failure costs, and contracts with the confidence of someone who knows the apocalypse has sponsors. Then the curtain lifts. The star stream is a universe-wide broadcast system. Humans are the actors, constellations are subscribers. Dokkaebis are the streamers who connect suffering to entertainment. Junghyuk refuses the normal path. He does not want a constellation sponsor. He does not want to become an incarnation chained to someone else's will. He wants Bihyung's Cho. He wants leverage over the broadcast itself. Their negotiation becomes absurd, funny, and deadly serious all at once. Revenue splits, exclusive contracts, down payments, channel fees, and cosmic advertisements appear beside monsters and corpses. Survival is no longer only about combat. It is media strategy, economics, and refusing to be owned by gods. The second main scenario begins in contaminated air. The land is polluted, the fog is poisonous, and survival now requires items just to breathe. Junghyuk searches the ruins, finds a chained woman still alive, and carries her toward Gumho Station. But shelter does not mean safety. Behind locked doors, survivors have already built a hierarchy. The mainstream group controls food. The marginalized group carries the risk. Vulnerable people are pushed outward, while those with influence remain protected. Junghyuk sees cruelty wearing the mask of order. The woman he saved is Jung Hee-won, someone who should have died, yet now carries dangerous potential. At the same time, sponsored fighters like Bong Chul-soo appear, proving that constellations are already shaping human power. When Junghyuk crushes these obstacles, the system rewards him. But every reward deepens the truth. The station is becoming a society where coins, food, fear, and status decide who gets to remain human. Gumho Station's hunger turns into politics. The survivors demand fair sharing, but Junghyuk refuses charity. He only accepts coins. To some, he looks heartless. To others, he is the first person honest enough to admit the new rule. Risk has value. Food gathered through danger cannot be treated like a gift. Lee Gi-young helps demonstrate coin transfers, and soon everyone understands that survival now has a measurable price. But Chon In-ho understands something even darker. Within Sight Level 2, he can steer crowds, amplify resentment, and make despair move in the direction he chooses. He frames choices as morality: share and become heroes, hoard and become villains. But Junghyuk sees the trap. Chon In-ho is dangerous not because he is desperate, but because he knows how to harvest desperation. Then Dokkaebi announces a penalty. Existing food stockpiles vanish. The cost of survival arrives. 100 coins at midnight, every day, until the second main scenario is cleared. Hunger is no longer the only threat. The next answer lies on the railroad tracks. Junghyuk tells the group they will hunt monsters, and the mission forces old prejudices to collapse. Strength is no longer determined by gender, size, or ordinary assumptions. In this system, stats can be raised, skills can awaken. Even a child can become essential. Lee Gil-young reveals her insect attribute, calling glowing insects that crawl through the darkness and communicate through her diverse communication skill. She can scout where humans cannot see, sense danger ahead, and guide the group through areas swallowed by a black curtain. Then, the food acquisition sub-scenario begins. Hunt monsters directly. Cook them. Earn coins. The survivors craft primitive weapons, sharpen wood with stone, and face grade 9 ground rats and other tunnel creatures. The constellations reward their primitive ingenuity, amused by humans returning to the Stone Age, inside a cosmic death game. But every hunt teaches them a new law. If they cannot adapt, they will be eaten before they ever starve. In the darkness, Junghyuk admits something he would rather hide. Survival has made him cruel. Not because he enjoys it, but because gentleness alone does not keep children alive in a tunnel full of monsters. When he and Gil-young enter the ground rat's treasure trove, blue digital light crawls around them like the world is loading a new nightmare. The promise is treasure. The reality is bones, chains, arguing survivors, and skeletal creatures crawling from the dark. Han Myung-oh and Yu Sang-da are trapped there, still fighting over petty causes while cosmic constellations watch with disgust. Junghyuk silences the chaos and breaks through barriers with force. Gil-young's insects surge. But the deeper they go, the more the area reveals its true nature. This is not just a monster nest. It is a place soaked in dark ether, built around a black fire core called the Dark Root. The Dark Sentinel emerges like a priest from a grave, skeletal, tentacled, and burning with ether favored by a demon king. Its language is wrong to human ears. But Yu Sung-ha's interpreter level 3 awakens, and suddenly the meaningless sounds become terrifying. The creature speaks of a mother, not as comfort, but as function. Jung-hyuk understands the implication first. Some demonic species do not reproduce like ordinary monsters. They use other bodies as vessels. The phrase becomes a command, a threat, and a ritual. Yu Sang-ha recoils, horrified by what the monster intends. Han Myung-oh becomes a target, possibly already tangled in the demon's method. Jung-hyuk cuts the attacking tentacle before the process can deepen, but the fight has already gone wrong. The Guardian is too strong to hunt normally, like the ichthyosaur before it. His weapon breaks, his original plan collapses, and once again, survival depends on finding a rule hidden beneath the violence. Jung-hyuk's plan starts failing, so he reaches for the one battlefield most survivors do not understand, the system economy. He forces Dokkaebi to act, uses the auction, and barters for an item called Broken Faith. It looks ruined. Its rating is unimpressive. Dokkaebi panics because it should be nearly useless without the right conditions. But Jung-hyuk did not buy it for what it is. He bought it for what it can become. Purest star energy flows into the broken item, and the Blade of Faith awakens. It is not a true ether blade, but against demonic species, it is exactly sharp enough. Still, raw power is not enough. Jung-hyuk realizes he is not a natural swordsman. He is a reader. So he fights like one. Bookmark activates. Memories of pages, attack patterns, and character logic sharpen inside his mind. Weapons training level 1 comes online. He watches the tentacles, counts their sequence, identifies the first threat, and strikes through the opening. The battle becomes less like swordsmanship and more like reading a paragraph before it finishes writing itself. Dokkaebi wants the obvious solution. Kill the grade 7 demon and take the reward. Jung-hyuk refuses too quickly for it to be mercy. He knows the hidden price. Demonic servants are tied to demon kings through the dark route, and the one who lands the fatal blow can inherit a curse. Among those curses, Asmodeus is the name he least wants attached to him, so Jung-hyuk manipulates the outcome. The Dark Sentinel dies, the system celebrates the first grade 7 demon hunt, and the rewards pour in. But the final blow credit does not land cleanly on him. Han Myung-oh receives the curse notification, staring at the message with the face of a man who just realized victory can be assigned like blame. The constellations react. Secretive plotter admires the cunning. Jung-hyuk smiles, not because the danger is gone, but because he escaped the worst part of it. After horror, the smallest comfort feels holy. Jung-hyuk lights a blue flame and cooks ground rat meat. The survivors watch with hunger sharp enough to hurt. He tastes it first, then confirms it is safe. For a moment, the dungeon becomes a campfire. The constellations, absurdly entertained, reward the scene like a cosmic eating broadcast. But the real treasure waits nearby, a black box covered in inscriptions even Jung-hyuk did not expect. Yu Song-da translates the writing, and the rule is outrageous. Place 2 lower-grade items inside, close the lid, and a top-tier item emerges. Dokkaebi panics, because this coin item was retracted by the Starstream Bureau for threatening scenario balance. Jung-hyuk uses it anyway. The Dark Sentinel's core and Broken Faith become fuel, and from the forbidden mechanism comes a star relic, Unbreakable Faith. Fire, darkness, divinity. A sword tied to legends from the Great Demon Age. His stats rise. His options expand. And somewhere above the system, someone is probably regretting that box was ever left behind. The new relic should mean safety, but the tunnels answer with vibrations from above. Gil-young's eyes bleed as her insect power strains beyond control. The surface is crawling with high-level monsters, and among them, Jung-hyuk senses the shadow of an insect king. He orders her to cancel the skill before the wrong thing hears her call. When collapse threatens to bury them alive, a giant mantis-like creature rises and saves the group, proving the power's value and danger at the same time. Jung-hyuk becomes stricter. From now on, such summoning happens only by command. To escape the labyrinth, they rely on a thread tied earlier, a simple line through impossible darkness. Along the way, Yu Song-da becomes another mystery. Character list cannot identify her properly. The system begins gathering information, but for now, she remains partially hidden. When the group returns with food, Gumho Station is already trembling. The system announces the rule everyone feared. 100 coins deducted at midnight. Fail to pay, and death follows. Panic spreads faster than poison fog. Survivors beg for coins. Others search for missing relatives. Suspicious men mock the desperate. Chen Inho stands at the center of the storm, with the highest coin count in the station, and Insight already working on the crowd. Around Junghyuk, about 20 people gather. Saving them all would cost 2,000 coins. Refusing them makes him look like a villain. The constellations watch, waiting to see what kind of story he will choose. Junghyuk refuses blind charity. He will not become a coin fountain for panic. Instead, he demands stolen coins be returned to their owners, and warns that if the truth is ignored, the worst-case scenario will begin. The clock keeps moving, the hands keep reaching, and every face in the crowd asks the same silent question. Who deserves to live when life costs exactly 100 coins? The station's missing survivors are not simply victims of monsters. Junghyuk sees the pattern. Marginalized members disappear, while stronger factions return with more power. Then the secret becomes public. Kill a person, and their coins transfer to the killer. The system has turned murder into investment. Aggressive survivors laugh about coin farming. Others accuse Chun In-ho of betrayal. Chun In-ho denies everything, then twists the moment into another performance, challenging weak survivors to fight for what was taken. The constellation system brands him evil, but labels do not stop knives. The crowd fractures. Hammers rise. Blades flash. Blood hits the subway floor. And when they turn on Junghyuk, hoping to take everything he has, they learn the difference between a mob and a returner. He activates his combat skills and cuts through the chaos with glowing weapons, asking the question no one wants answered. Why do they blame him for a world designed to make them kill each other? In the middle of violence, Jung Hee-won reaches the edge of herself. The system announces that every evolutionary condition for her crouching figure attribute has been met. What was hidden inside her begins to blossom, not into simple rage, not into blind revenge, into judge of destruction, heroic alignment, the strongest possible path. A sword manifests. A scale of justice appears around her like the world itself has put the station on trial. Junghyuk tells the others to stay back. He understands what they are witnessing. Hee-won is no longer only someone he rescued. She is someone the scenario must now account for. Her exclusive skill, Hour of Judgment, activates with unanimous approval from absolute good constellations. The woman who once trembled in chains now stands ready to punish those the system itself recognizes as wicked. For the first time in the station, fear changes direction. The battle leaves the station soaked in consequences. Bodies lie across the floor. Survivors stare at one another, as if realizing too late that shelters can become slaughterhouses. A long-haired woman, bloodied and calm, executes a kneeling man with terrifying certainty. Nearby, an injured man smiles in a way that does not belong among the dead, hinting that some people are already planning beyond the massacre. The system announces the nightly survival fee again, cold and absolute. Junghyuk approaches the woman amid the blood and tells her to stand. Not because the violence is over, because it has barely begun. The scenarios ahead will be worse. The costs will rise. The monsters will not wait for grief. In this world, even sorrow must learn to walk. Between Gumho and Yaksu, the subway becomes more than a route. It becomes a boundary between those still clinging to shelter and those willing to move through danger. A bloodied woman trembles with the knowledge that more horrors are coming. Junghyuk grips her arm firmly, anchoring her before fear can swallow her. The system repeats the rule that now governs them all. 100 coins every day at midnight. Failure means death. The penalty remains until the second main scenario is cleared. And survivors are urged to keep moving inside active scenario zones, because hiding is no longer a strategy. The walls are stained. The stations are broken. The constellations are watching. Somewhere ahead, monsters wait in the dark. Somewhere behind, humans are learning to kill for coins. Junghyuk does not promise safety. He cannot. But his silence says enough. If this world demands a story of survival, then he will write it in blood, coins, and impossible choices.